Hello and welcome to this Christmas edition of the Doncaster preview for tonight's action. It kicks off a 12 race programme at 6:09 with an A1 grade event. It's not the hottest A1 by any means. It's dogs coming up, a lot of them from A2s into the A1. There you are now as a point in case in track one. Continues to run well for connections. Janice Simpson's got her in tip-top condition. She's kind of really turned the corner throughout December, winning her last four A2s. Can you believe? She's got trap one again. It's going to help. Left, right, good night in trap two. He's probably up against it. Probably could do with a bit of an easing grade, really, for Kelly Tobin. Probably will move into the sort of lane 2.5 a little bit as well. So it's going to give There You Are Now plenty of room to operate. Travella Storm has been beaten by There You Are Now on a couple of occasions recently, but in all truth, there's not a lot between them. It's just really the slow breaks from Travella Storm that's costing him. But if you got any kind of run at the red jacketed runner, I think he'd go pretty close. Faithful Texas, he's another one, an old stalwart for Debbie Calvert. He's more of a staying type of dog, but he wants to be drawn in this trap four, so he should be all right if he gets any kind of decent run. Bancher JD, I thought had it to do John Sharp's charge, and I think his kennel mate's probably the dog that will go very close out of the pair of them. Dingy's Ronaldo is another greyhound that's running all right. He beat Footfield George, who's a decent yardstick in this kind of company. So he'd had every chance. I think the runners are 1, 3 and 6. I thought 4 had half a chance as well. And all in all, not a lot of value in the prices. So it's just a watching race, but it's a decent enough race, competitive race. On to race 2 and the 6:28, and I do like a dog here. I've been waiting for him to come back out on the card. I backed him last time out. He's been off 24 days sharp, his Tom in trap 3, and I couldn't catch my breath when he got beat last time out. And obviously he's probably had some kind of a little issue. He carries his head a little bit high, but he's certainly got loads of speed. He might be a little bit of a quirky character, but I think in the makeup of this race, he'll go mighty close, and I'll make him a fairly decent bet. He was nibbled out at 11-4, which is a really good price, but I'll put him up at 2-1 because I make him that little bit shorter. I think probably one of the dangers is going to be Midas Lassie. I thought she ran all right. She's been sprinting. She stepped up and she had a couple of efforts in A4 grade. This is a tough A4, but she's got a draw on the inside. I don't necessarily think she wants to be drawn in trap 1, really, particularly, but she's got good makeup because immediate outside is trap 2, Merry Meeting Dev, and he's a slow start. I think he's got no chance in this race. Really, it'll be a big, massive price. Billy's Ditch is one that's kind of runs a little bit of snatches. One day he runs all right. Last time out wasn't that great. Rycroft Hugo, he's been dropped in grade, and he would have some kind of chance if he got a decent start and got into the contest. Eden Honey, I thought this was a little bit underpriced, around 5-2. Made her much bigger than that, and all in all, I thought that the runners were 3/1, maybe 5 is the only other half a runner for me. But the bets here are Sharpish Tom, fairly confident, and just save on Midas Lassie just in case she does improve, because I think there is a bit of improvement in her. In race 3, the 6:43, this is a tricky enough race here. Run Tell Sally has been put in trap 1. I think that's a real strange move. Will move off probably into lane 2 and a bit. But Jamara Ruby will move off as well from 2. So I might get away with it, but more of a staying type. Got a bit of 2 to 3, I suppose. Run Tell Sally could get into the contest if getting a run round the first 2 turns. Leatham's Mario, quirky character. He broke okay last week, and his sort of adversary here is yesterday in trap 4, who went past him showing early pace last week. Leatham's Mario was jumping over the back of dogs, showing flashes of ability, but he's a bit like that. He runs in snatches. Yesterday seems to kind of do enough on the running, whether it's stamina, whether it's just getting a little bit bored, I don't know. It could play into the hands of the stayers, which kind of fits the bill of Beautiful Deb, but I'm not really too sure how well she's running particularly. I thought Jamara Bloom in trap 6 was up against it. So all in all, funny trap draws on the inside. Couldn't really trust Leatham's Mario. Couldn't really trust yesterday. They're at the top of the market, so I didn't think there was a lot of value. On to race 4. A tricky enough race, this one. Again, I made it a sort of 3 the field race, and I noticed that Winnie the Blue, who came back off of a break with a trial, re-qualifying trial, and they made it -30. All of a sudden, she's a 28-14, and I think she's more of a 28-30, a 30 bitch, really. I mean, that would be good enough to win it, but she's one of those that kind of a little bit one-paced, has to get into the race and then use stamina to effect. Penny Cecily in Track 5 is running really well. Won 2 out of her last 3. So if she gets a run, she could go close. I thought Millhouse Linda was dropped in grade, but not really running that well. She's been off 23 days, so would be a little bit wary if there's money for her. Anarchy, I think, is up against it, outgraded. Flew the Coop, likewise, just a smash breaker that doesn't really do a lot. And that might actually just hamper the progress of Kilbarry Tiger, who's a dog, as we all know, I quite like, but he's a bit of a thinker himself. So all in all, I couldn't really work out what was going to happen for definite. And I just passed that race by again. Race 5, interesting race, this one. I was tempted to go with Dathy's Rosie. She is a bitch that's dropping in grade. She won a B7. She had a couple of B6s, and she's back into the B7 here again. But it's probably an okay B7, but she's got a decent makeup because Do It Quietly is a slow breaker, edging in a little bit on her inside. Nettie's Turbo's a quick starter, but hasn't really got a lot of anything. She's been running all right, probably the best she's run in the last 2 or 3 efforts, actually, but she doesn't quite get home, so she's always vulnerable. Paddy Spark picked her up last time. He's a youngish sort of unexposed dog in Track 4, and he was very, very green on the bends. He missed his break, showed a bit of all-round pace, really, and there is definitely improvement from him, but I didn't think that Dathy's Rosie inside him was really a bonus for him. Eden Lane's hit and miss at the start, probably needs to be prominent and lead to win, and does cut the bend as well. So hit and miss at the break. Last time out, missed it and couldn't quite get in to the lead, whereas the previous time did lead Nettie's Turbo. So again, there's kind of mixed form messages there, and I thought it was a really tough race. I was tempted with Dathy's Rosie. 7-4 is about the mark. Do It Quietly might offer a little bit of value. He's 2 from 52. Tells a story. He's more of a kind of frame-up dog, and he was 6-1 with one of the firms, so he could be a little bit of a play there, maybe a place bet on Track 2. Crown Maggie, I didn't really fancy the chances. She's 8 weeks out of season. She just doesn't look right at all. Race 6, 7:36. I thought this was a tricky enough race, but Ross Temple Burt has been dropped in grade, and it just kind of tempted me in really on the draw as well. Rosanda Blake will be moving into more lane 3.5 than anything else from 5, so it's going to give Ross Temple Burt all the room in the world. He is a bit of a quirky character, so I think that's going to help him because I think he'll see clear daylight, and I think he'll run his race here. Sharpest Pandora, more of a one pacer. Swift Radar, probably up against it. I'm not too sure he's quite this, or she's quite this grade. So I took her on, and Dinah Rose in Trap 2 will move off. Can break, can get into the contest, might have some kind of a squeeze. Blaymore Fitzy has switched to Trap 1, which I didn't really think again was a trap that he wanted. He'll be moving off into lane 2. But he did run well last week, but it was in a lower grade than this. So all things being equal, small bet on 6 because I thought 4-1 was too big. On to race 7. Interesting race, this one. A lot of early speed in the race. Classic Quattro ran all right. We had a little bit of a nibble on that one as a saver last week, which helped. And also Rosanda Katie and One Eye Jack, their early paces don't quite stay. And I thought it might just play into the hands of a stayer. And I was on an R-ing whether to back True Mount Lady last week. And sure enough, there was big money for her for Jimmy Gaskin. And she weaved her way through and she stayed on really well and was quite impressive. Now, it says she's up 2 grades, but she's probably up only 1 and a bit, really. And I just think the makeup of the race might suit her. So, again, at about a 3-1 mark, I might have a really tiny bet on her and had the forecast 1, 5 and 6 back to beat her. In race 8, tough race. A lot of these run against each other. Barnfield Orchids, a dog I really like. Always seem to get a bit of a tune out of him at a big price. And Sean Parker, his trainer, keeps him in good order. Ragtime Lenny, he's a bit frustrating, this character. I thought he was going to be a really good dog at Doncaster, but he's turned out to really just kind of be a bit hit and miss, really. and been a bit of a disappointment for me. He hasn't progressed at all. Monbeg Jet has been running well. I thought the most likely winner of this race could smash and clear 1 and 2 as he did last week, and he got the job done actually by beating Red by about a length in the end. Lightfoot Sancho was a dog I thought had a real good chance last time out, and he fluffed his line somewhat, but he showed flashes of ability, and on his old form he had a break a little bit. I just think that he might have needed that to blow the cobwebs away. The only danger is he's got an awful draw here, because Ardera Boss, I've got this one moving right the way into almost lane 2.5, 2 3/4. So I really don't know what Ardera Boss is doing in this race in trap 5. It's going to give Dawn's Night a really good draw, but I have to say her last 2 runs have been awful herself. She just seems to be fiddling around the bends and taking an age to come round. One of the things I will say is that the going has been quite an issue at trials yesterday, -180. So it's again another one where we need to keep our bets to a minimum, I think, tonight. I was going to side with Monbeg Jet, but in the end, it was just going to be a watching race, and I'm not going to have a bet in that race. On to race 9 and the first of the 4 sprints that round off the card. And I do like a bit here in track 4, Cold Town Lola. She's been running really well without winning, actually. And I think she's got a chance to get to the front here. And I think we'll see a completely different dog. The one negative is Penny's Linnet in trap 6, because this one smashes the bars down and cuts into the middle of the track. The only thing is that has been dropped in grade because hasn't really been running that well of late. But I'm just waiting for the ping and cut across, and I'm hoping that we're not going to get ruined on the way to the turn, because I think if Cold Town Lola gets any kind of run here, we'll surely win. Be Proud in track 1 has already been beaten by the selection, not really turning a bend. Rough Tease comes out very, very slowly indeed. Eden Raven, again, not that much of a breaker. List of Jet has been going a little bit through the motions. So I didn't think there's a lot of speed in the race. And I thought if Cold Town Lola could just get some kind of break and get up inside Penny's Linnet, I'm sure that she'd win. Race 10 is another sprint. I thought the runners were 1, 3 and 5 here. Jim the Liar's got a bit of an easing grade here. He's been running against some really decent dogs. Nice place. A move over Tommy. But he's more of a smash breaker. So if he doesn't get his Sunday best break, he might be in a little bit of trouble. Augris in track 3 ran really well and nearly won last week. And he's been threatening to win a race, but he had been missing it. That was a better break for him last time out. So if he continues that sort of trapping, he's going to be on the front foot here. And on the booze, another one. Very slow breaks of late. If she got anywhere near a decent start, she'd be competitive in this sort of lineup. She's been dropped. This is a real mix mash again of grades, because dropped from D2 into D3. All My Friends, it's been running okay. Haven Penny was really disappointing last time. I was really disappointed after getting a good break and got outpaced by probably an improver mind. And Midas Pauline, again, another one that's disappointed of late. All in all, the runners looked 1, 3 and 5, but I didn't really see lots of value because a few of them have been nibbled, and I can't really put them up now as those prices have been shaved. On to race 11. I like this race. Again, this looks a real cobbled together race. I don't know what Molly Coddler's doing in this race at all. Will be double digits, big double digits. But I thought Dingy's Tommy ran against the real best of the best. Although they say it was a B2, it's more almost a B1 last time out. Dropping down here into a D3, it's just a real big, enormous drop in grade. The only possible danger to Dingy's Tommy, in my eyes, is Rathme and Blake, and he got one of his better breaks last time out. Normally he's a slow breaker, and he can be a bit of a disappointment. But again, if he did get a start, he would be the danger. Meet Mayhem, I don't think it's a class. Jamara Rover's a slow breaker, and Jamara Cross is just a one pacer that goes around the outside. I don't think he can live with these. I think there's a real kind of match between 1 and 2, and I do favour 1 at a taste. Again, a lot of the prices went, but I put him up as 15 to 8, and he was a bit bigger than that. But I still think I make him 5 to 4, 6 to 4 chance. So he is the bet there. And if we can save on trap 2, we probably will do. On to the last 12th race, real tough race, this one. They're trying to give Myla Pippin a bit of a squeeze, but she's a misbreaker that goes to the bend and rather eases a little bit. Moss Millie, very, very hit and miss. Not always a good starter, but a bit of a chasey type. Franey Flight could bomb out and get into the contest, to be fair. I thought Ballygurjun had a bit of a tough task to clear that rival. Drumcrow Yankee, he didn't run the bends very well last time out after a bit of a layoff. Anid and Regal, I keep making this one much bigger than the books keep chalking up, and I thought he was up against it a little bit here. So probably the inside versus the outside, but I've got no bet in race 12. Let's have a look at our selections. There's 4 races to play in. Confident selection, 628 Sharpie's Tom Tom, around about 2 to 1. And I'm just going to save on Midas Lassie in the red. A small bet on Ross Temple Burt. He's got a good draw and he's dropped in grade. And in the 838 in the sprint, Cold Town Lola, I'm just going to get my money back with Penny's Linnet. Cold Town Lola, I think if she does get any kind of start, she can really get inside Penny's Linnet. But as I say, I'm just worried about the Linnet coming into the middle of the track and just giving her a bit of grief. And then in the 912, again, another decent bet here. Dingy's Tommy to blast out the boxes, get first jump on his next door neighbour and make all. There's just one meeting left for Saturday. There's no Sunday meeting next week, and there will be a meeting on Boxing Day. So we might try and get some tips out for you, because over the period, obviously, we're all looking to have a little bit of a punt. Anyway, Merry Christmas and be lucky.